good money on the Boston Celtics to lose. That being said, the Cleveland Cavaliers, in my opinion, and the OKC Thunder are the only two teams that are equipped to beat Boston. The one difference is for Cleveland, especially after they got DeAndre Hunter, they actually have to face Boston before the NBA Finals. So the only thing that can stop Boston to me is injuries. We've seen that with Porzingis. We've seen that with Jason Tatum. If they are healthy, it's an issue.
What do you think, Booze?
I agree. I think Boston's a team to beat in the Eastern Conference. I think Cleveland has a chance in the 7-game series. But if they're completely healthy, Tatum, Porzingis, and the rest of those guys, they play on both sides of the ball at an elite level, they're the favorite coming out.
Jay Will.
RJ, real quick, I got to ask you another question. We all know that about those two teams. You think LeBron is going to say anything today when that stuff comes out with Pat McAfee about Stephen A. Smith? You think he's going to tap into that at all?
Yes. That guy.
We all know that about those two teams. You think LeBron is going to say anything today when that stuff comes out with Pat McAfee about Stephen A. Smith? You think he's going to tap into that at all?
Yes. That guy. It got very quiet in here for very good reasons. You'll have to tune into McAfee. Yes, RJ doesn't hear. Okay, RJ, I got something else for you here. I got one more for you before we go. We're doing Way Back Wednesdays. This is the last time Richard Jefferson was with us at the Seaport. It's been much too long since he was here. The last time he was here, he was playing catch. He threw a ball to our stage manager, Brandon Phillips, and smashed a monitor. RJ, that's the last time. It's not a coincidence that it's the last time you were here. It's almost exactly 2 years ago today. RJ, you smashed a monitor. By the way, you still haven't paid for it, but that's a whole other conversation for another day. RJ, your recollection.
But that's what happened, Brent. That's what happens when you throw a basketball to a football player. That was the issue. Brandon's a football player. He's a big lug over there. It's my guy. That's my guy. But you can't throw a basketball to a football player. No hands whatsoever.
The moment actually took place like this, Booze. Brandon actually said, "I've got great hands. No one has better hands." He said those words.
He said that? Okay.
No one has better hands than me. RJ flings it to him. Brandon absolutely just watches it smash into a monitor and then starts telling everyone that it's RJ's fault. And it's just generally speaking, a pretty terrible moment in every conceivable way. And, you know, I was just standing there thinking, well, we now have a broken monitor and someone's going to be asked to explain it. This is Brandon, by the way.
Right here.
To say he's a football player, by the way, is extremely kind. That would be a very kind description of Brandon, whom we love. RJ, a final word on this, your triumphant return to get up, and it has been much too long.
My final word is this. I'm so proud of my Arizona Wildcats. These guys have been up and down throughout the season. They're playing well. Yes. Are they going against the we get everything, America's always for us, the Cooper American flag Duke team? Yes. But you know what? The last time that who won that game? Arizona. So I believe in our guys. And we can do the betting on the side, guys. I'll text y'all on the side. I'll text Booze on the side.
Mike,
night, RJ.
Hey, RJ, I love you, big fella. Thanks a million for doing this. I can't thank you enough. I texted him the other day. I was like, I got to get you in here. I know it's early in the morning, and he is there when we need him. And he will be at work tonight. Our Wednesday doubleheader will feature Luka, LeBron, and the Lakers against the Pacers at 7:30. All right, LeBron James and the Lakers in Indy to play the Pacers tonight. Yesterday, LeBron sat down with Pat McAfee for over an hour. The conversation will air on ESPN today. Here's a little taste of the interview. LeBron talking about how he believes current players would fare in the NBA 50 years ago.
You trying to tell me Giannis wouldn't be able to play an NBA game in the 70s?
Handshake, he wouldn't be able to do it.
Giannis,
neither would you. Neither would you.
Giannis Antetokounmpo would have 250 points in a game in the 70s. 250.
Is that Kuzi? When was Kuzi playing?
All right, so Kuzi played in the 50s and the 60s. So there were so many things about this conversation that bother me. And I understand what he's saying. First and foremost, of course, he's right. Giannis Antetokounmpo would dominate, as any athlete in the modern day would. There were a couple of things that bother me about this. In the interest of time, I will limit my comments to two. One of them is the modern generation of player gets very, very sensitive when you compare them to players of the past. But they are very comfortable comparing themselves to player of the past. I don't love that inconsistency. The other part of it is, if all we're going to argue is players now are bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic, well, then that's the end of the conversation. The Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line in the 1970s, the heaviest guy weighed 275 pounds. What position would he play now? Linebacker? So, I mean, obviously, we've gotten bigger, we've gotten stronger. All of that is obviously true. But the idea, that feels very disrespectful to me. There were great players in the 1970s. And by the way, Bob Lanier in the 1970s would have picked up Giannis Antetokounmpo and dunked him. And then and Giannis would have been looking around saying, why isn't that a flagrant two? While he was flying into the stands. So, look, the players of today are brilliant players. Right. And I'm not taking anything away from them. And LeBron is on the very short list of the greatest players we've ever seen in the history of any sport in this country. But if the best argument you have is, well, look how much more athletic and skilled we are now, well, that's the end of any conversation, and it isn't an interesting one because it could be made for any sport at any time. The idea that those guys weren't great players then, as one who watched them play, that it offends my sensibility. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I think this is just it's a silly argument. Like I talk about, back in the 70s, guys they had jobs in the offseason. Think about that.
Maybe not in the 70s, but at one time, yes.
No, but like there were guys who literally had, they don't do what we do now. Right. Like this is in today's modern sports era, along all of these sports leagues, guys train all year round. Yeah. All year round. Those guys they weren't doing the things that modern day players are doing. So I just think it's just a silly argument to try to, again, compare what these guys are now, skill-wise, it's body types and stuff, to guys that 20, 30 years ago.
Way longer than that. Dr. Ernie Vandeweghe, who played for the Knicks, was a doctor and literally only played home games. He didn't travel with the team because he was a doctor.
Right.
And so to make a comparison between those obviously is nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But I would just very quickly point out, Booz, when did you finish playing in the NBA?
2007.
How many commercial flights did you take during your career, traveling from one city? I mean, when I was covering the NBA in the 90s, I remember one time getting to O'Hare in the morning and seeing Karl Malone and John Stockton standing at a Cinnabon waiting to get their breakfast, and they were flying to another city and playing that night. I mean, the world was just a different place.
It's evolution, right? And it's like the specialization of sports. It's the best thing to happen to sports, and it's the worst thing to happen to sports, because back in the day when we were growing up, you used to play different positions, so you had different sports, so you had opportunities to develop different skills. But also you can talk about if these guys are bigger, faster, stronger, why aren't they more durable? Right, so it's that argument as well. Those guys played back-to-backs and were able to play longer and play through full seasons. I think it's a dumb argument, and I think it's something when your pride comes in. Sometimes you just have to honor the past and understand that you're standing on the backs of these guys that made the league easier for you, that made the money better for you, so you can afford to have a chef and pay $2 million a year for your body. Right, so imagine if those guys were able to do that. Half those guys were smoking cigarettes at halftime.
Yeah, it was a different world. Jay Will, go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
We're not gonna allow. When you say durable now, like these guys are durable. They're smarter. There's data and analytics that suggest how you play due to the volume of basketball they're playing. Okay. When we say guys aren't playing back-to-backs, who are you referring to, Bart?
Well, I'm talking about sports in general, because I went 11 years, only missed one game, one practice. Now I see guys get a hangnail. They can't play.
Okay, but I'm saying,
I'm talking about Nolan
I think
Ryan
this is a great thing
7 innings.
In the NBA, though. In the NBA, who are you referring to? Like, talk to me to players that don't play back-to-backs.
Well, let's not say back-to-backs. Let's say, playing the entire season, like Bridges, a guy who hasn't missed a game, the old AC Greens of the world, guys who can play that you can count on being in the lineup every game of the season, not guys missing 20 games a season. That's what I'm speaking of.
Okay, I'm just saying the majority of the guys in the league are playing a lot of the games. Like this narrative that we keep coming up with, the guys that don't play back-to-backs and everybody's on load management, that's only for a select few of individuals that all of a sudden we give this blanket narrative for. That's not for everybody that plays. So,
but they are the ones generally, Jay, I'm sorry, but they are the ones we care about, right? Like those are the ones that people are paying their money to see, and those are the ones that people are interested in. We're talking about like Giannis in the 70s. No one was concerned about the guys coming off the bench in the 70s, and that's not who they're concerned with now.
But wait, Greeny, if the players back in the 70s and 80s were getting paid the same way these players are, and they had access to the same information that these players do, do you not think they would be going about it differently?
No, they very well might. That's my point.
So
the world has changed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just saying when I get triggered when I hear Bart talk about players aren't durable these days, and that's just a select few of people who have been injured and who are managing their injuries differently due to the data that we have now.
But I'm talking about sports in general. I'm not just talking about specifically basketball. I'm talking about my sport as well. We see guys missing a bunch of games. I played with London Fletcher. London Fletcher went 226 games without missing a game. I'm talking about guys like that. You see guys not being able to pitch as long as they used to, and we're supposed to be bigger, faster, stronger, but then they don't have the ability to put in the innings like Nolan Ryan, complete games and things of that sort. That's what I'm speaking of. If they're bigger, faster, stronger, why aren't they more durable?
All right, I'm up against a break here. I have to take it. We'll come back with more of this discussion when we can, and you can see LeBron's entire conversation with Pat McAfee today. The Kings sat down with McAfee for over an hour to air at noon Eastern on ESPN. All right, coming up, which legend will go farther in the playoffs this year? Will it be LeBron? Will it be Steph? We're going to get RJ in on that conversation. Richard Jefferson rejoins the show. And then, Bobby, trivia today is for you. Here we go. Who had the most 30-point games in the 1980s? So starting January 1st, 1980 through December 31st, 1989. It's not the seasons, but the actual dates. Who scored the most 30-point games in that decade? Answer is next.
I know how to make slick